Have you ever heard someone talk about the chosen ones? It almost sounds like a myth, a story from some ancient book or fantasy movie. But what if I told you, the chosen ones aren't born, they're made. They don't just appear with halos or superpowers, they're forged, shaped through invisible tests that most people don't even realize are happening. These aren't tests you can see, not physical exams, not achievements you can post about. These are spiritual tests, emotional trials, mental storms, and they are some of the hardest challenges a human soul can go through. Few face them, even fewer pass. But those who do, they're never the same again. You see, life itself is a test, but not everyone gets the same version. There are levels, and the deeper you go, the more intense it becomes. The more layers you peel back, the more truth and pain you uncover. The chosen ones, they're not chosen because they're special. They're chosen because they answered the call. A call they didn't ask for, but couldn't ignore. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. It's not something you'd sign up for if you knew what it really meant. These tests will stretch you, break you open, force you to question everything: your beliefs, your identity, even your sense of reality. But if you stay with it, if you trust the process and move through the fire, you emerge transformed, clearer, stronger, unshakably aligned with your purpose. So if you're feeling that pull, that strange, quiet sense that you're being prepared for something deeper, don't ignore it. You might just be on the path of the chosen ones. The first test on the path of the chosen ones. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't arrive with fanfare or signs in the sky. It begins quietly, when you're asked to confront the truth of who you really are. We spend so much of our lives building identities, carefully crafting masks we wear for the world. I'm this career. I'm this relationship. I'm what I own, what I've achieved, how others see me. But the first spiritual test strips all of that away. It forces you to stand still and look into a mirror that shows you not the mask, but your naked soul. And that moment is terrifying, because when all the titles and roles are gone, when the noise of the world fades out, you're left with a haunting question. Who are you, really? Not your name, not your job, not your status, just you. Most people turn back at this point. It's too much, too raw. They retreat into the comfort of illusion, hiding behind the familiar, clinging to identities that feel safe. But the chosen ones, they stay, even when it hurts, even when it feels like standing at the edge of a dark abyss. They look deeper. They ask the hardest question of all. Who am I without all of this? Have you ever asked that question? Not just as a passing thought, but as a fire in your soul that won't leave you alone. That's where the real journey begins. Not with answers, but with the courage to ask the right questions. If you're ready to explore more of these deeper truths, subscribe to this channel. Join others like you walking this path, because this is just the beginning. The second test on the path of the chosen ones is one that most people unknowingly run from every single day. It's the test of isolation. We live in a world full of noise. Social media feeds, group chats, meetings, family, notifications. Always something to do, always someone to answer. But this test, it demands something radical. It asks you to be alone, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. To pass this test, you must sit with yourself, in the silence, with no distractions, no filters, no escape. And that is where it gets real. Because in that silence, something begins to happen. You start to hear things, thoughts you've buried, fears you've avoided, desires you didn't want to admit. And if you stay there long enough, you'll begin to hear something else, something deeper, a quiet, steady voice, one that's always been there, but was drowned out by the noise of the world. It's your inner voice, your true self, your soul, calling out to you. Can you hear it? Most people can't, or don't want to, because silence can be terrifying, not because of what's outside, but because of what it reveals inside. But the chosen ones, they don't run from silence. They welcome it. They know that in isolation, the soul speaks, and in stillness, the truth is revealed. You see, the hardest tests in life aren't the ones that test your body. They're the ones that test your soul. So if you're walking this path, and you're feeling alone, remember, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You're being tuned in to something deeper. Subscribe if this message resonates, because this journey is just beginning, and you're not alone. The third test might be the hardest of them all. It's the test of letting go. We all hold on to something, grudges that have hardened over time, expectations of how life should be, regrets, disappointments, heartbreaks, and like invisible weights, they pull us down, draining our energy, dimming our light. But to pass this test, you must be willing to let it all go. Let go of the past. Let go of control. Let go of the stories you keep repeating to yourself. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You trust that what's meant for you will stay, and what's not will gently fall away. Letting go isn't weakness. It's one of the strongest things you'll ever do, because it requires faith. Faith that there's a deeper order at play. Faith that your soul knows the way, even when your mind resists. But here's the thing. Letting go doesn't happen in a single moment. It's a practice. A choice you make again and again. You release. You breathe. And then life throws something new at you. Something that grips your heart and tempts you to hold on again. And in that moment, you're faced with the real question. Am I willing to let go, even of this? That's when transformation deepens. That's when you grow. Because every time you release, you create space for peace, for purpose, for alignment. If you've made it through the first 3 tests, facing your true self, embracing the silence, and learning to let go, you've already begun to shed the old version of you. But make no mistake, the journey doesn't get easier from here. It only gets more sacred, more real, and yes, more challenging. Stay with it, because you're not just changing, you're becoming. If this resonates, like, share and walk this path with us. There's more to uncover, and you don't have to do it alone. The fourth test is one that has brought even the strongest souls to their knees. It's known as the dark night of the soul. This is not just a difficult moment in life. It's a spiritual storm, a season where everything you thought you knew, everything you believed in, is suddenly gone. It's as if the universe is asking you, how much darkness can you face without losing your light? In the dark night of the soul, your world may feel like it's collapsing, relationships unravel, careers dissolve, your sense of purpose vanishes. You look around and see nothing solid left. Just questions. Why is this happening? What did I do to deserve this? Will I ever make it out? But here's the truth the ego doesn't want to hear. The dark night is not a punishment. It's a purification. It's the sacred fire that burns away everything that is not truly you. This test strips away illusions, false identities, attachments, and what remains is raw, real, and filtered soul. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels endless. But it's also the birthplace of your transformation, because only in the darkest night do you begin to see your deepest light. Most people, when they hit this point, they panic. They grasp at the crumbling pieces of their life, trying desperately to hold it all together. But the chosen ones, they do something radical. They let it fall. They trust that whatever is meant to remain will, and whatever is meant to go is already gone. They keep walking blindly sometimes, but they keep going, even when there's no light in sight. They trust that it's coming. So let me ask you, when life falls apart around you, do you cling to the rubble, or can you find the courage to let it all fall, so something truer can rise from the ashes? Because this, dear soul, is where the old you dies, and the real you begins to emerge. Subscribe if you feel this in your spirit, because the path doesn't end here. There's more to uncover, and you're not alone. The fifth test is the test of faith. Not faith in religion, not blind belief in doctrines, but a deeper kind of faith. Faith in yourself, faith in life, faith in the universe itself. When you're in the dark night of the soul, this is the test that hits hardest, because everything around you feels uncertain. The ground beneath you is shaking, and nothing makes sense anymore. But still, you're asked to believe, to trust, even when there's no evidence, even when the light has gone out. This kind of faith isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's not about ignoring the pain or putting on a brave face. It's about feeling everything. The grief, the confusion, the fear, and still whispering to yourself, there's a reason for this. even if I don't see it yet. That's real faith. Faith in the unseen. Faith in the unknown. Faith that the universe is not trying to break you, but to remake you. And here's the thing. When you're in that darkness, you will be tested over and over again. Your faith will feel like a thread, thin, fragile, almost gone. And the voice of doubt will grow louder. Maybe this is all there is. Maybe there's no way out. But the chosen ones, they don't let go. They may stumble. They may cry. They may scream at the sky. But they don't give up. They keep walking. Even when every step feels heavier than the last. Even when the road ahead is nothing but shadows. They keep their faith. Not because they can see the light, but because something deep inside them remembers it. So let me ask you this. When everything is falling apart, when you're standing in the middle of your own personal storm, how strong is your faith? Can you trust the journey, even when you don't understand it? Can you believe in the light, even when all you see is darkness? Because when you've been in that darkness long enough, and you've wrestled with your doubts and fears, you'll come to a choice, a precipice. And how you respond in that moment will shape who you become next. If this speaks to your soul, subscribe, because the journey continues, and the next test is waiting. This is where the sixth test begins, the test of surrender. If you've made it this far, you've already shown your strength. You've faced your darkness. You've held on to faith when everything seemed lost. But this test, it's not about how strong you are. It's about how willing you are to let go. You see, as human beings, we love control. We plan. We analyze. We try to shape our lives, our futures, our relationships, all to match our vision of how things should be. But life rarely follows that script. It unfolds in mysterious ways, sometimes painful, sometimes miraculous, often unexpected. And the chosen ones, they learn a sacred truth. Control is an illusion. They understand that there is a greater intelligence at work, a force far wiser than the limited human mind, and they choose to surrender to it. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean stop caring, stop acting, stop dreaming. It means stop resisting. It means letting go of the constant battle against what is, and allowing life to guide you. Imagine you're swimming in a river. If you fight the current, swim upstream, force your way forward, you exhaust yourself. You go nowhere. But if you surrender to the flow, the river carries you effortlessly to where you were always meant to be. That is the essence of surrender. In this test, you may be asked to release more than just plans. You may be asked to let go of your identity, your ego, even your dreams. You may be asked to surrender who you think you are, so you can become who you truly are. And that's not easy. It's not instant. Surrender is a process, a daily practice of trust. Trust in life. Trust in your soul. Trust in the unseen path unfolding before you. So let me ask you, how much of your life is spent trying to control? How often do you resist what is, wishing it was something else? What would happen if you simply stopped fighting? What would shift in your life if you surrendered? The test of surrender doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong in a new way. The kind of strength that comes from alignment, from flowing with life, not against it. And here's the paradox. When you surrender, you don't lose control. You gain true control, not through manipulation, but through harmony, through being exactly where you're meant to be, at exactly the right moment, not by force, but by flow. But that kind of surrender, it requires trust. It requires faith. It requires the courage to step into the mystery without needing all the answers. So, can you do that? Can you let go of the steering wheel and allow life to carry you to the place your soul already knows? This is the test that separates the chosen ones from the rest. And it's the moment where struggle ends and true alignment begins. Subscribe if this message touches something within you, because the journey doesn't end here. There's still more to reveal. If you've come this far, you've surrendered, you've endured, you've let go of control and trusted the unknown. And now, only one test remains. The seventh and final test. The test of awakening. This test is different from all the others. It's not about how much you can take. It's not about strength or survival. It's about seeing. This test doesn't ask, what can you do? It asks, what can you realize? Because in this sacred moment, the veil begins to lift. and you finally see the truth that's been calling you all along. You begin to remember why you've struggled, why you've suffered, why everything seemed to fall apart, only to rebuild you, piece by sacred piece. The truth is this: you are not broken, you are not lost, you are not separate from life. You are life, expressing itself through one unique soul, you. The pain, it was a teacher. The darkness, a doorway. The tests, all part of the awakening. You don't need to find your purpose, because your purpose is already within you. It's not a destination, it's a state of being. This test asks you to awaken to the truth that you were never alone, that every moment, every high and low, was guiding you to this point. To remember, you are not here to merely survive. You are here to live fully, boldly, consciously, to love deeply, to create fearlessly, to walk this world awake. But awakening isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new life, one where you no longer operate from fear, but from alignment, from truth, from soul. This is the reward for those who pass the test. Not perfection, not escape, but freedom, inner peace, clarity. So now I ask you, are you ready to awaken? Are you ready to see who you really are and why you are here? This is the final test, the most sacred one of all, because once you see the truth, you can never go back to sleep. You've walked through the darkness. Now step fully into the light. You are not becoming awakened. You are awakening. And that is what makes you one of the chosen.